Okay, today we're going to peel back that shiny white marble veneer of ancient Greece. We're going way past the philosophy and the temples to uncover the gritty, the grimy, and, let's be honest, the totally disgusting side of their daily lives. So buckle up because this is going to get weird.
When you picture ancient Greece, what comes to mind? Probably guys in togas, Socrates, the Parthenon, maybe the Olympics, right? It's this beautiful, civilized image of logic and art, the very foundation of Western civilization.
Yeah, you might want to hold that thought. Because behind all that impressive philosophy and art, the so-called foundation of Western civilization was, well, it had a side that was anything but clean.
First up, let's talk about their medicine. Bizarre is the only word for it. Let's just say a trip to the doctor's office back then was not exactly what you'd expect today.
No, seriously, that's not a joke. Just imagine you're feeling a bit under the weather. You go see a physician, and the very first thing he does is stick his finger in your ear, and then he pops it in his mouth to taste your earwax. This was a completely real, totally serious diagnostic tool.
So, what was the logic behind this taste test? It all came down to a theory called the four humors. The famous physician Hippocrates believed our health was all about keeping four bodily fluids in perfect balance. So if you were sick, it just meant one of those fluids was out of whack. Simple as that.
So how did a doctor figure out which humor was the problem? Well, he tasted them, of course. Every fluid was thought to have its own unique, healthy flavor. So a doctor would literally sample your earwax, your snot, even your urine or vomit to figure out what was wrong based entirely on how it tasted.
And get this, apparently, healthy urine was supposed to taste like fig juice. I mean, it kind of makes you wonder about their figs, right? But seriously, it just goes to show how central flavor was to their entire medical system.
All right, next, we're moving from the doctor's office to everyday life. And trust me, if you thought the medicine was weird, things are about to get a whole lot more uncomfortable, especially in the bathroom.
You know, we all take something like toilet paper completely for granted. But back in ancient Greece, you had to get creative. And their version of creative is pretty shocking.
Now, some of these options don't sound too terrible. Moss, leaves, maybe a piece of cloth. If you were rich, you might even have a sponge on a stick. But for most people, the go-to materials were smooth pebbles or, and you're not going to believe this, shards of broken pottery. Yes, sharp-edged, broken pottery.
In fact, there is a popular saying that went, 3 stones is enough to wipe. Can you even imagine? And not surprisingly at all, historical records show that hemorrhoids were incredibly common in ancient Greece. I mean, I wonder why.
Okay, for our next point, we are heading to the gymnasium. And this one involves sports heroes, fame, and a business venture that is truly stomach-churning. First, you have to understand, these athletes were massive celebrities. They were seen as heroes, almost like demigods. And they competed completely naked after slathering themselves in olive oil. So over the course of an event, they get covered in this thick layer of dirt, sweat, and who knows what else.
So what happened to all that grime? Well, after an event, it was scraped off the athletes' bodies, collected, put into little bottles, and sold to their adoring fans. People would actually buy this celebrity sweat and dirt concoction and rub it on their muscles as a pain reliever. Think of it like a really, really disgusting ancient version of Icy Hot.
All right, for our last section, we're shifting gears from the strange and gross to the just downright brutal. Let's talk about crime and punishment in ancient Greece. When it came to punishing certain crimes, especially sexual ones, the Greeks had a knack for combining public humiliation with extreme physical pain. And they did it using some very unlikely tools, straight from the garden. For a crime like adultery, there were 2 unbelievably horrific forms of punishment. One was called rapinidisis, which involved forcing a large radish into the offender's anus, an act so painful it could actually kill you. The other was figging, which used peeled ginger to create an unbearable, intense burning sensation.
And it was truly agonizing. The burn from the ginger was apparently so intense that the person had to be physically held down. And get this, when the effects started to fade, they would take the ginger out, re-peel it to expose a fresh surface, and put it right back in to start the torture all over again.
So from tasting earwax to wiping with pottery shards, the daily reality of ancient Greece was a far cry from that pristine image we all have. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If this was the civilized foundation of the West, what other dirty little secrets are hiding in plain sight throughout history?